Why can't women become priests in the Catholic Church? Is it discrimination, a stubborn tradition, or something much deeper? Today, we're breaking down one of the most controversial questions in Christianity, and the real answer might surprise you. Stick with me, because the final reason we'll explore is the one that most people, even many Catholics, have never heard. Let's get one thing straight from the start. The Church does not teach that women are less holy, less intelligent, or less capable than men. In fact, official Catholic teaching is crystal clear. Men and women are created with equal dignity in the eyes of God. So if dignity is equal, why isn't the role of the priesthood open to everyone? This is where a lot of the confusion and misunderstanding begins. The common argument is that it's just an outdated rule that needs to be modernized. But for the Church, it's not about rules. It's about roles and identity. So, what is a priest, according to Catholic teaching? A priest doesn't act on his own authority or in his own name. He acts in persona Christi capitis, which is Latin for in the person of Christ the head. This means that when a priest celebrates the sacraments, like the Mass or confession, the Church believes it is Christ himself acting through that priest. He is a living sacramental sign of Jesus. Now, think back to the Gospels. Jesus, during his time on earth, called 12 men to be his apostles. He had many followers, both men and women were incredibly important to his ministry. They were the first witnesses to his resurrection. But he specifically chose men to be the foundational pillars of his church, the first bishops and priests. Here is the crucial point. The Catholic Church believes that it does not have the authority to change this model that Christ himself established. It sees this not as a matter of preference or cultural norms, but as an act of faithfulness to Jesus' original design. Pope John Paul II wrote that the Church has no authority whatsoever to ordain women. It's not a cant because of a rule book, but a cant based on the belief that they are bound to follow the example Jesus set. It's seen as a matter of obedience to Christ's will for his Church. But hang on, this is just the surface level. If you think this means the Church limits or devalues women, you have to look at the bigger picture. In Catholic theology, who is the most honored, most revered human being ever created? It's not Peter, the first pope. It's not Paul, the great evangelist. It's Mary, a woman, the Queen of heaven and earth, the model for all Christians. Throughout history, women in the Church have been prophets, leaders, doctors of the Church, martyrs, and missionaries. The Church speaks of the feminine genius, a unique spiritual strength, intuition, and capacity for nurturing that is essential to the life of the Church and the world. So the real question isn't, why can't women be priests? But rather, what is the unique, irreplaceable mission God has given to women? To understand this better, let's talk about sacramental symbolism. A sacrament is a visible sign of an invisible divine reality. For the Church, the Eucharist, the Mass itself, is understood as the wedding feast of Christ, the bridegroom and his bride, the Church. The priest, acting in the person of Christ, stands as a sacramental sign of the bridegroom, giving his life for his bride. This spiritual symbolism of male and female, of bridegroom and bride, is woven deep into Catholic theology. So for the Church, having a male priesthood isn't about superiority. It's about maintaining the integrity of that sacramental sign. It's a physical representation of a spiritual mystery. Christ, the bridegroom, laying down his life for his bride, the Church. Changing the sex of the priest would, in this view, fundamentally alter the visible sign of that spiritual reality. But here's the most powerful part of the story, the part that often gets lost. Some of the most influential figures in the entire history of the Church were not priests. Think about it. Mother Teresa, who built a global empire of charity and served the poorest of the poor. Saint Joan of Arc, a teenage girl who led an army. Saint Catherine of Siena, who was so spiritually powerful, she convinced the Pope to return to Rome. Saint Therese of Lisieux, a cloistered nun whose little way of love has inspired millions. All women, all world changers, none of them were ordained. Their lives prove that holiness, leadership, and incredible influence on the world do not depend on ordination. Women have shaped the Church from the inside out, spiritually, socially, and morally, for 2,000 years. So, to wrap it all up, why can't women be ordained in the Catholic Church? It's not a statement about their worth or abilities. Instead, the Church believes it is safeguarding a sacred structure established by Christ himself, rooted in the deep sacramental symbolism of Christ, the bridegroom and his bride, the Church. It's about different, complementary roles, not unequal dignity. Now, whether you agree with this theology or not, it's clear the conversation goes much deeper than just outdated rules. It touches the very heart of what the Church believes about Jesus, humanity, and the mystery of salvation. If this video gave you something to think about, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest questions of faith. Thanks for watching.